I don't ramble. I'm a really smart guy, really smart. I don't ramble. But the other day, anytime I hit too hard, they say he was rambling. And I feel I have an obligation to speak and speak in a certain way and speak a little bit longer. How would you like it? A guy's waiting with his family for 3.5, 4 days. They have a tent, and the tent is set up. They have hundreds of them, and they wait. And then I walk in, speak for 15 minutes, and leave. I don't know, somehow. Would that be okay, North Carolina? I don't think so, right?
Well, I don't think the rambling is the problem. It's the content or the statements being made in the middle of those rambling sessions, and it's not helping his campaign. So he has essentially decided to ignore the advice of his campaign staff and go on this, massive bender at both his Pennsylvania rally and also online. And he's continuing to make statements that's helping Kamala Harris increase her lead in the general election. And that's according to the polling. Now, the rally over the weekend was supposed to serve as a bit of a reset to Donald Trump's campaign. That didn't happen. Now, as part of the strategy, his staff prepared this written speech that focused heavily on economic policy. Like, hey, Trump, go back to your greatest hits. It's the populist messaging that really helped you in 2016. Go back to that. That's what voters want to hear about. Some Republican strategists had hoped the former president could regain the initiative by zeroing in on issues which opinion polls say voters have greater trust in Trump than the Democrats, such as inflation. However, Trump's having difficulty sticking to that message. Obviously, Kamala Harris has managed to get under his skin and she's on his mind. And so take a look at how he decided to essentially go off message, go off that strategy, and instead attack Kamala Harris. Let's take a look.
Who would believe this? 80 days from now, we are going to defeat a communist known as Kamala Harris. She's a communist. Most radical left person ever to run for office. This is not what this country needs. We've had enough of them. This is communist, this is Marxist, this is fascist. But you know what? It's dangerous because she's saying that she's going to give away things that she'll never be able to get approved. Look, people say, be nice. Have you heard her laugh? That is the laugh of a crazy person. That is the laugh of a crazy. It's the laugh of a lunatic. Have you heard it? They prohibited her. They prohibited her for laughing. I've been waiting for her to laugh because as soon as she laughs, the election's over.
What I was looking at in that video, Cenk, wasn't Trump. I was listening to Trump, but I was watching his fans behind him and how distracted and uninterested they appeared to be in what he was saying. And I think that this is a huge misstep by Donald Trump, because remember what voters found appealing about his message in 2016. The reason why, honestly, a lot of Bernie voters ended up switching parties and voting for Trump is because of that economic messaging. And now here he is speaking out against those economic policies that his voters had previously found appealing.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
There's a lot to respond to there.
Yeah.
So first off, he says, they say I'm rambling, but I don't ramble. And then he goes on to ramble. I mean, and epically so. And then he did an ode to rambling. So which one is it, brother? Do you or don't you? And this rambler doesn't know when to hold them and when to fold them. He never folds them. He always goes on and on and on. If you've bored your own MAGA audience, then you're not doing it right. And so he's not playing the greatest hits. He used to do that. He'd say, build a wall, lock her up, etc. You could say, hey, I don't like that. But his fans loved it. And he would talk, to Anna's point, about economic populism. He didn't mean it, but at least he was savvy enough to pretend to give you things, right? He's totally lost the thread on that because he just rambled his way out of what he was actually campaigning on. So now that Kamala Harris is taking economically populist positions, Trump is defending corporations. He's defending his donors. That's a great way to lose. So he's just absolutely ruining his own campaign. And he responds to every attack line. You're not supposed to do that in politics. He's just not right. So, like when they
he's
call
on
him
the defense now.
nonstop,
Right.
they called him weird, and he's like, "They call me weird. I'm not weird. I'm not weird." And you look weird doing that. Why are you responding to them calling you weird? And then they call you a rambler, and you're like, "I'm not a rambler." It reinforces that you're weird and you're a rambler. And now the most important thing, Anna, is he's as usual, but now he can't contain himself. He's obsessed with himself. So he's not talking about the people at all.
Right. That's a huge misstep.
Right.
That's a huge misstep. In fact, what you just watched, it didn't end there. Let's take a look at the next clip.
I mean, Time Magazine, think of this. Time Magazine doesn't have a picture of her. They have this unbelievable artist drawing her. And I said, is that Sophia Loren? I couldn't. Who might that be? Is that Elizabeth Taylor? They say she was a beautiful woman. Who is it? It's so beautiful. Drawing. It's a drawing. They took a lot of pictures. It didn't work out, so they hired a sketch artist. I said, I'm sure, they must be celebrating the great life and times of the magnificently beautiful Sophia Loren. I mean, I read a so-called Republican who Ronald Reagan didn't like, by the way, and she didn't like him, but she got credit for being this Reagan speechwriter. She said Kamala has one big advantage. She's a very beautiful woman. She's a beautiful woman. So I decided to go back and reread the clause. I'm not saying he's, but I say that I am much better looking than her. I think I'm much better. Much better. I'm a better looking person than Kamala.
What? Well, why would voters care about that? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, what?
Yeah, no, this is madness. So first of all, why did you? No, but hey, the Rambler, why did you wind up giving 5 minutes of your speech to how hot Kamala Harris is? Like, first of all, before you even got to how you're hotter, which is just insanity defined, right? Why are you talking about her looks for so long? Is she Sophia Loren? Is she Elizabeth Taylor? I couldn't tell. What, you couldn't tell? Elizabeth Taylor is dead. Like, why did you go back? And Elizabeth Taylor is very white. Like, what are you talking about?
Living in hell. This is not like, this is nonsense. Like, this is so dumb, right? Like, it's laughable. Like, we're talking about a presidential election, guys. I don't care about anyone's looks. Okay, the country's falling apart. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, no offense, Bernie, but we were for Bernie Sanders, and we weren't for Bernie Sanders because he was hot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's for people not that bright who are like, I like shiny objects. And that's how Trump thinks. So that's why he thinks, I wonder if people are voting for Kamala Harris because she's hotter than me. No, you idiot. You're the one who thinks like that. And guys, look, even if you're MAGA, if you didn't think that he was a lunatic before, you really think that Donald Trump at 78 and 300 some odd pounds is better looking than Kamala Harris? Like, I know who cares, but do you understand that that's detached from goddamn reality? Like, you sound like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Anyway, Nug Huffer is one of our members on Twitch, and they had an interesting theory as to why Trump said the weird thing about how he's more attractive, right? They say the reason the crowd booed Trump when he said Kamala was an attractive woman is because to them, anyone of color can't be attractive. Then when Trump says I'm more attractive, the crowd cheered, not because of a conventional definition of beauty, but rather because he's white. They're deeply racist. Look, I don't know about the racist theory, etc., but it is true, and we saw it with your own eyes. He's talking about, she's so attractive, and they're like, grumble, right? And then he says, but I'm hot, and they're like, right.
Insane. This whole thing is insane. I can't believe how much he has bungled his own campaign. He's totally lost. I really did think, okay, like they've been very strategic over at the Trump camp. I remember being at the RNC and actually being impressed with how he was sticking to the script and how he was going along with the strategy, and it was working. And now it's like he's totally discombobulated over Kamala Harris being the Democratic nominee.
100%.
He should have expected it.
100%.
His campaign should have expected it. And they should have strategized, and he should stick to the strategy, but he can't help himself. He's totally discombobulated. Okay.
And I got to say one thing about what you're saying. So we're at the DNC right now, as you can tell, right? We were at the RNC a couple of weeks ago, and I was shocked that they didn't see it coming.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, because we were there on Thursday, word spread like wildfire that Biden might drop out, right? But I was like, but on Monday through Wednesday, I was like, you guys, are you not aware that there's at least a really, really good chance that Joe Biden's gonna drop it? I thought it was at 100%, turned out I was right. But a lot of people thought, okay, maybe 70%, 50%, 30. Like if I thought, oh, there's a 50%, 30% chances my opponent's gonna drop out, I would make contingency plans and I wouldn't get caught off guard, right? That entire place was caught off guard. They couldn't believe it, and they thought they'd already won.
In fact, let me just weigh in on something. I remember being at the RNC. Cenk had a trip planned to Europe. And I remember Cenk talking to me about like, Biden's gonna drop out this weekend. I think I'm gonna cancel my trip. And I thought that was a crazy idea, but he did it. He did cancel his trip so he could be here to cover that story. So you definitely expected it, like anyone paying close attention to politics should have, including and especially the Trump campaign. Anyway, let's get back to the story, because look, him saying I'm more attractive than Kamala Harris is obviously weird. It is. It's just a weird thing to say. But it's especially weird when you consider what Trump had to say last week. So let's go to that.
I saw a picture of her on Time magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing. And actually, she looked very much like our great first lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman. So we'll leave it at that, right?
So are you saying you're more attractive than your wife?
No, I hadn't thought of that. Transitive property. Of course, if you told him about the transitive property, he'd be like, I don't own that one, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I put my name on it, make money off licensing my name.
Why don't we just take out the ansitive and put it in and then it'll be Trump property. Okay, so again, we covered that last week for you guys. I don't know why he's imagining Kamala Harris as his wife in some weirdo, bizarro thing that he shouldn't be talking about at all. Why he's fixated on her looks, but most importantly, guys, his inability to pivot is actually kind of stunning. Look, it shouldn't be stunning to me because you've heard me say 1,000 times how unintelligent I think he is. But even so, he keeps using talking points about Biden.
Yeah.
So like he'll even go to like, oh, Biden was too old. Brother, that was a million years ago. You're not running against Biden anymore. And at this point, you're 20 years older than Kamala Harris. You got to stop talking about age. And by the way, a poll showed, as you would expect, the numbers 100% flipped from 31, Trump having a 31-point advantage among people who were concerned about the candidate's age and health. He had a 31-point lead. Now he has a 30-point deficit. So if you're a Republican, you want Trump to about age, but he's still talking about age because he can't get off his old talking points. That shows total incompetence. And you just don't, you're supposed to be attacking Kamala Harris on her policies like immigration crime. I mean, I don't want to do your job for you, but those are the obvious things to do. If you're a Republican, you should be 10,000 times angry at him.
It's right. I mean, honestly, if he could think straight and just get out of his feelings for a minute, it's a bit of a layup. Because think about it, Kamala Harris is currently running on the things that she's gonna do if she gets elected and she's in the White House. She's in the White House now.
I know. I don't even want to give them tips. No, I know now a lot of people watch the show.
You think he has heard this advice? I'm sure he's heard his advice.
I know.
His campaign managers aren't idiots. They've actually given him really good advice. He can't help himself. And look, I actually want to admit that I was wrong about something. The thing that I've always given Trump credit for is I felt that he understood marketing. He understood how to sell it. And right now he is flailing and his messaging is so disastrous. I'm like, man, I guess I was wrong. Maybe he doesn't understand.
Yeah, I saw Bernie speak earlier today, and he's still totally the same Bernie as he was before. Age catches up with you at different times for different people. And so you know that I haven't thought that Trump had an age problem, because I'm like, look, if you think the things he's saying is crazy, he's always been crazy, right? And he's always been unintelligent, et cetera. But now for the first time, I'm beginning to think it might be an age issue. Because like those fantasies about how Biden will come back into the race, like, I don't know if you saw those, Anna, when you were away, but he kept talking about like Biden could come back. I think Biden's gonna come back and he's gonna retake the nomination at the DNC. Well, not only is that cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but that's like devolving in a way that's more than I would have expected. Like, you're not running against Biden. This is not a complicated issue. Like, hey, if you say he doesn't have a good healthcare proposal, of course it's a complicated issue. He couldn't possibly have a decent proposal for healthcare, and he knows it, right? But this is not complicated. Running against Kamala Harris, not Joe Biden. And he doesn't seem to understand that. So he is an absolute hot mess right now.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.